There was a time in Delhi's history when a slave, not a royal, not a noble, not a chieftain, became the most powerful man in the empire. Despite being a slave, he held more power than the Sultan himself. This slave changed not only his own destiny but also the fate of Alauddin Khilji, the most famous Sultan ever to sit on the throne of Delhi. This is the story of a slave who was brought before Khilji during a conquest and then went on to win victory after victory. I know you have guessed it. I am talking about Malik Kafur, Alauddin Khilji's most trusted slave. A slave who, while staying close to the Sultan, secretly dreamed of becoming Sultan himself. And for that dream, he even went so far as to betray Alauddin's own family. Malik Kafur's story is not just about the rise of a slave. It is a story where loyalty, politics, and the hunger for power get so twisted together that his name becomes immortal in history. But do you really know who Malik Kafur was? How did he become a slave? And how did a slave bought for just 1000 dinars became the man who would decide the future of the Khilji's dynasty? You will find out all of this in today's video, so make sure you watch till the end. Malik Kafur was a slave without whom Alauddin Khilji's power would have been almost half. He not only helped Alauddin conquer Devagiri, he also almost single-handedly pushed Khilji's role deep into the south. But before Khilji's flag reached the southern kingdoms, we need to understand who was Malik Kafur. We don't know much about his birth or his childhood. Most historians believe he came from a Khambat region of Gujarat, also known as Cambay. Interestingly, Malik Kafur was a eunuch. In those days, eunuchs played an important role inside the royal harem. Because they couldn't have children, they were not seen as a threat to Sultan's throne. But later, Kafur completely shattered this belief. Malik Kafur was not an ordinary slave. He was bought for 1000 dinars, a huge price at that time. This alone shows that he must have been very capable. There must have been something special about him. Perhaps his appearance, his sharp mind, his confidence, all of it together. How he finally reached Alauddin Khilji's court is also an interesting story. After Alauddin Khilji became Sultan in 1299 AD, two of his powerful military commanders, Ulugh Khan and Nusrat Khan, attacked Gujarat. At that time, Patan was the capital of Gujarat and it was ruled by King Karna. Karna tried to fight Khilji's army near Ahmedabad, but he was badly defeated. He fled the battlefield, ran away with his daughter Deval Devi and took refuge with Ramchandra Dev, the ruler of Devagiri. With this victory, Alauddin got not only King Karna's entire treasure but also his wife Kamala Devi. Kamala Devi married Alauddin Khilji and became one of his queens. During this same campaign, Alauddin's men found Malik Kafur in the local market. He was presented to Alauddin as a special gift by his generals. And at that time, Alauddin badly needed a capable slave like Malik Kafur by his side. In those days, the word slave didn't always mean what we think it means today. In medieval India, slaves were bought and sold, but many of them were trained and groomed to strengthen the Sultan's rule. A military slave wasn't just someone purchased to do any random work. These slaves could be highly trained in politics, in warfare, in administration, and some of them became powerful commanders also. Alauddin Khilji wanted to build a standing army, a permanent army that would always be ready for battle. He needed this because the Mongol threat on his borders was very real and very dangerous. Later, this strong army became one of the Alauddin's biggest strengths. As for Malik Kafur, Nusrat Khan first noticed him during the campaign in Khambat. He bought Kafur and presented him to Alauddin Khilji like a precious gift. That was the turning point in Kafur's life. As I said earlier, Malik Kafur was purchased for 1000 dinars. A price like that doesn't come from nowhere. It means he must have climbed up through smaller roles and proved himself again and again. In those days, a slave's journey usually started with the simplest jobs, working in the stables, then looking after the horses, then slowly rising to higher responsibilities. Everything depended on the slave's ability. If Malik Kafur was worth 1,000 dinars, it clearly means he was extremely skilled and efficient. Even though we don't know the details of his work before he arrived at Alauddin's court, one thing is clear. He didn't take long to prove himself once he got there. When Alauddin saw Malik Kafur, he was impressed by his intelligence and his looks. This is why this 1,000 dinar slave quickly found his way from the outer court into the inner palace and then into Alauddin Khilji's harem. Kafur proved his worth to the Sultan. He showed that he was not just handsome and well spoken, but also sharp, practical, and capable. Whether it was small administrative issues or big political decisions, Kafur gave suggestions and guided the Sultan. Very quickly, he became one of Alauddin's favorites. Kafur had no family of his own, so Alauddin believed that Malik Kafur could never challenge him for the throne. This made him feel safe. And when Malik Kafur showed his cleverness, loyalty, and dedication, Alauddin was even more impressed. Kafur soon became Alauddin's most trusted advisor. Historian Ziauddin Burni writes that Alauddin trusted Kafur so much that he believed almost everything Kafur told him. And this trust not only grew with time, some modern historians like Professor Irfan Habib also say that the relationship between Alauddin and Kafur carried a deep personal attachment, something society at that time looked down upon. But whether people liked it or not, this relationship played a big role in Kafur's rise. Malik Kafur's real power and fame came from the victories he won for Alauddin Khilji. He became the man who led Alauddin's army to success in South India. On Kafur's advice, Alauddin appointed him commander of the forces sent to the south. At that time, the Delhi Sultanate was mostly limited to North India. Conquering the rich and strong kingdoms of South India was a huge challenge. In 1305, he defeated the Mongols to the Battle of Amroha. Then between 1309 and 1313, he led successful campaigns against Warangal and Madurai. Let me tell you something interesting here. One of Kafur's special quality was the way he handled Devagiri. When he went to Devagiri in 1307, he took control of the region without unnecessary bloodshed. After the conquest, he gathered the people and told them, "Now you are under the protection of the Sultan. Don't think an enemy has come to destroy you or that there will be mindless killing here. Nothing like that will happen." Step by step, Kafur brought the local administration under his control. With his strong administrative skills, he stabilized Devagiri and brought it firmly under Delhi's rule. Because of all this, he became Alauddin's most capable, most trusted, and closest companion. The biggest highlight of his career came when he conquered Warangal in 1309, defeating the Kakatiya ruler Pratap Rudra Dev. This victory brought him huge wealth, many elephants, and one legendary jewel, the Kohinoor diamond. This is the same Kohinoor that later passed to the Mughals, then to Nadir Shah, then to Maharaja Ranjit Singh, and eventually ended up in England. Kafur presented this diamond to his master Alauddin. For him, the Kohinoor became the symbol of his success. After that, in 1310, he conquered Dwarasamudra, the capital of the Hoysals. Then, pushing further south in 1311, he took Madurai, the capital of Pandya kingdom. In Madurai, Malik Kafur carried out heavy plunder. The conquest of Madurai marked the southernmost limit of the Delhi Sultanate. In his book, Tarikh-e-Firoz Shahi, Ziauddin Burni writes that Kafur's campaign were a short but very intense period of military success that boosted Alauddin's reputation even more. Amir Khusro, the famous poet in Alauddin's court, also praised Kafur's exploits in his work. So, when Malik Kafur brought the deep south under Delhi's control, Alauddin rewarded him by appointing him Malik Naib or Naib-e-Mulk. Malik Naib means deputy of the Sultan, almost like a deputy prime minister. With this title, Kafur's position rose sharply. In the Sultan's absence, the person holding this post became the supreme authority in the empire. It meant that almost every order now passed through Malik Naib. In other words, Malik Kafur had become the Sultan's right-hand man. But as Alauddin grew older, his relationship with Malik Kafur slowly changed. What had started as loyalty now began to turn into ambition. When Alauddin Khilji fell ill and his health declined, he became more and more dependent on Kafur. At the same time, The political situation inside the palace was getting worse. The Sultan's own sons and relatives were fighting among themselves. Kafur saw this as his chance. He began to exploit the weakness of the Sultanate. He saw that Alauddin's will was weakening and his personal defense were low. In Sultan's name, Kafur quietly took over more and more power. He began to control both the administration and the army. His influence in the royal court kept growing. Alauddin's son, especially Khizr Khan, was disturbed by this. They saw Kafur's growing power as a direct threat and wanted to remove him. But for Kafur, Khizr Khan was the biggest obstacle. So he used Alauddin's illness to his advantage. He convinced the ailing Sultan to reject his elder sons as heirs to the throne. Historian K.S. Lal also talks about this phase, describing how Kafur played his political game, took advantage of Alauddin's weakness and slowly moved closer to the throne himself. So, when Alauddin Khilji died in 1316 AD, Malik Kafur's ambition completely burst into the open. He placed Alauddin's youngest son, the minor Shihabuddin Umar, on the throne as Sultan and then declared himself the regent, the guardian of the Sultanate. After this, he had Alauddin's other sons, Khizr Khan and Shadi Khan, blinded and imprisoned so that they could never claim the throne. By making Shihabuddin Sultan, Kafur actually wanted to rule in his name and eventually grab full power for himself. His cruelty and his hunger for power were now clearly visible. But this new order did not last long. Many of Alauddin's loyal bodyguards and several nobles were deeply unhappy with Kafur's growing arrogance and tyranny. That's why, just 35 days after Alauddin's death, in 1316 AD, Malik Kafur was assassinated by some of Alauddin's own bodyguards. It is believed that another Alauddin's son, Mubarak Khan, who later became Sultan, was the real force behind this killing. In the end, Kafur became a victim of the same ambition and hunger for power that had once taken him to the top. The story of Malik Kafur, from slave to the most powerful man in the Sultanate and then to a violent death, is not just about one person's rise and fall. It is a story of a political chaos, power struggle, and the thin line between loyalty and betrayal. He expanded Alauddin's empire on a massive scale and made it a fearsome power. But in the end, his own ambition turned against him. History remembers Malik Kafur as a powerful, clever, and cunning man, someone who rose from the slavery to immense fame and authority, only to meet a tragic end of his own making. So this was the story of Malik Kafur, a slave who was bought by 1000 dinar and became the most powerful person of Alauddin Khilji. So I hope you like this video. If you like this video, please like and share the video to your friends and family and follow the channel for the more updates. Thank you.